This is BaseDaKid, the hardcore casual, in association with the Undefeated podcast, proudly sponsored by Disturbing Sports London. I'm here with Dev SAHNI. Dev, how are you doing?
I'm alright, that's all the smoke. That's all the smoke from my mentions. That's Undefeated, that's BaseDaKid. Goodness me, this is going to be a smoky interview, I can just tell. But just, come on, what you got? Come on, what do you want to say? Come on.
No, I'm not gonna be too rough on you, but what I do want to know, right? This particular event, we've got Daniel Dubois, we've got Alexander Usyk, undefeated. He's basically done everything to do at cruiserweight. He's now come up to heavyweight and he's almost cleaned up. He's got one belt left, but so far that can't happen. He's had to take on his mandatory. How much of a chance, percentage-wise, do you give Daniel in this, or is it just a puncher's chance?
I give him a 50% chance. Because, look, he's different now. He's not that 19-year-old kid anymore who burst onto the scene and then in interviews was just like that shy kid. That's a man. You've just watched that press conference, shoulders broad, looking at his belts, telling Usyk what was going to happen in the fight. That's a guy that's confidence. That's one box ticked. He's got a world-class jab, in my opinion. He's got world-class power, 90% knockout rate. That's not an opinion, that's fact. And he's 11 years younger than this guy. I've seen Usyk this week. I saw him in Poland, saw him today. A few more grey hairs than there used to be, right? He's getting on a little bit. He's boxed once a year for the last 4 years. Once a year. Do you know how many times Daniel Dubois has boxed in that period? 11 times. So activity, youth, hunger, power. He's got all the ingredients to get it done. Let's see. Back the Brit.
Dev, all right, tell me this. What fight has Daniel Dubois had in those 11 fights over the last 4 years that have suitably prepared him for Alexander Usyk? Or are you just banking on the fact that Usyk will maybe get old overnight, so to speak?
So let me ask you this, just to ask you back. What fight could prepare him for Alexander Usyk? As we know, Usyk is a genius, right? A cruiserweight who's gone up to heavyweight, he was undisputed at cruiserweight, unified at heavyweight, a genius. There's not many like him. So who do you think he should have fought before a fight like Usyk? Could I suggest that maybe he should have fought a cruiserweight who's gone up to heavyweight, who's a southpaw, who's a little bit awkward? That sounds like a good fight to have beforehand, right? That sounds like Kevin Lerena. So I know he had a bit of trouble in that fight, but he knocked the guy out. Too big. And that's what happened in the end. And look, I think that's about as good as you can do in terms of prep for someone like Usyk, someone like Kevin Lerena.
There's definitely better options, but I'll give you some in a moment. But I want to push back on the Kevin Lerena thing just a little bit. We do know in the first round when he was knocked down from the first one legitimately, the knee was an issue with knockdowns 2 and 3. So we kind of discredit that. However, we do know that the bell did go 10 seconds too early in that round when he was knocked down the third time. Officially should have really lost that by the correct technicalities, except for the fact because the bell went, that kind of saved him. In the third round, when he did manage to get back and unload on Kevin Lerena, it is also, if you see, there is a moment where Kevin Lerena manages to counter punch him, and there is a moment of pause with Daniel. He does fire back, and the ref, he actually punches after the bell, in which case the ref jumps in and stops it. So there is an argument to then say, well, he was treated slightly favourably in that fight, and Kevin Lerena wasn't supposed to be as much of a test as he was. If that is the case, I could suggest someone like a Zan Kosobutsky, who used to be co-promoted by Queensberry, and I'm not sure why they never did any fights with him, but that would have been a great test. Someone who is legitimately sort of a top 20 heavyweight, but a lighter guy. There are others, but you feel ultimately that with this fight, Daniel, that the crisis he went through was enough to sort of get him back from maybe the issue of the Joe Joyce defeat, upset a few years back?
I think, look, there's negatives and positives that can come from the Kevin Lerena fight. Obviously, it's very easy to point out all the negatives, how he did get caught cold in the first round. There's no sort of disputing that. And by the way, I was there that night. I had about 6 layers on. He must have been freezing in there, and I hear he didn't warm up properly either. So there's negatives that you can take from all of that. But the positives are he overcame adversity. He found himself on the floor. He found himself willingly, again, going to ground. This time, he got up, he got on with it and he knocked the guy out. And all the stuff about, the round went too short, etc., is what it is. He knocked him out. He had the guy in front of him and he got him out of there. The Kosobutsky thing, he's unbeaten, isn't he? He's a good fighter, isn't he, this Kosobutsky fella? So he's, it sounds like probably not a sensible fight to take if you're the mandatory for the world title. That would be my view on that. You take someone who you think you're going to beat, but will also give you a bit of a test. Kevin Lerena was that.
Okay, so pivoting from that just a moment, there was a lot spoken about previously regarding Alexander Usyk being a clear B-side to Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury is the A-side. He does make the money. We kind of all understand that. But Frank did speak a lot previously about sort of Usyk, not really, being the draw, so to speak. With that being said, how come this fight is on TNT Sports box office as opposed to just regular TNT? If the aim would be to quote unquote boost his profile, or if he doesn't have a profile in the UK as was mentioned previously?
Of course, it's going to be box office. It's a unified heavyweight world title fight with a Brit, a young, hungry Brit, looking to change his life. It's on at a UK time. It's not on early in the morning or anything like that. Of course it's going to be pay-per-view. TNT Sports would have paid a lot of money to acquire the rights to get this fight. They need to make that money back. That doesn't just happen by sticking it on free-to-air. You've got to stick it on pay-per-view so you get your money back. Hopefully you make a few quid as well. It's just business.
Okay, so we're going to back the Brit, as you said. We're going to hope that Daniel puts up a great performance. That being said, this is the first fight where he has not been the favourite for the fight. He is technically the underdog. So do you think the fact that he has almost no pressure on him, with no one really believing that this is his moment or he can actually do it, do you think that will actually help him in the fight, or will that maybe make him more nervous to try and deliver on the night, in your opinion?
I think it's definitely going to help him. I was literally talking to him about this, did a little sit down, and I asked if the pressure was getting too much before, where he did have the weight of the world on his shoulders, where people were saying, waxing lyrical about how far he was going to go, how he was the next this, the next that. And he said, yeah, probably there was a bit of pressure there. Maybe he did feel it at times. But heading into this, as you said, a few people, most people are not expecting him to win this fight, right? Heading into enemy ground, he will be booed to the rafters. I love it. I hope I'm walking right behind him, and I don't think he's going to feel that pressure at all. I think it's a good place to be. It's nothing to lose. You lose this fight to Alexander Usyk, hey, it was too soon, you lost to a genius, maybe better luck next time. You're still young, you're only 25. You win, you rock the whole heavyweight world, and I hope he does it.
Fair enough. Okay, last question. We're going to just address the Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou special event that was taking place in Saudi Arabia. Now, previously, Frank Warren did actually say on TalkSport and multiple other channels that the heavyweight division is being stagnated, primarily by Anthony Joshua and Alexander Usyk, basically wait until the end of the year to fight in Saudi and get that big Saudi bag. So it's a bit ironic at this moment that the only person who actually is waited until quote-unquote the end of the year and fighting in Saudi is Tyson Fury. With that being said, Tyson hasn't been active this year. We know there's reasons. He couldn't get the Usyk fight over the line for whatever reason. The Anthony Joshua fight, Anthony Joshua he declined it. We know that. But why is he fighting 0-0 novice boxer who is obviously from an MMA background when there are other challengers within the WBC rankings that he could have taken a voluntary against and not basically stagnated the WBC heavyweight title for the whole of 2023? What's the mindset behind that?
So the status of the WBC heavyweight title and what they do with their belt is the decision of the WBC. As far as I'm aware, they ordered a final eliminator between Deontay Wilder and Andy Ruiz, which they haven't figured out yet. So Tyson hasn't got a mandatory. When he has a mandatory, he fights his mandatory. He boxed Dillian Whyte, who was his last mandatory. So he's not swerving a mandatory for this fight to happen. And about the Saudi thing, it's not like Saudi's like a bad thing. Oh, they're waiting for Saudi. It was more, Usyk didn't fight Tyson Fury at Wembley because he would make significantly less money than he would in Saudi. He then went on to sign for Skills Challenge Promotions as well. That was the thinking behind that. Saudi is just happens to be putting up the bag for this fight, and it sounds like a great new relationship has formed between Queensberry and these guys as well. So why is Tyson fighting Francis Ngannou instead of someone in the WBC top 15? Because he's a megastar, and megastars get mega offers. He's had a mega offer where he can make a lot of money in a fight that would generate huge interest. Why wouldn't you do it? If you're Tyson Fury, why would you not do that? Why would you do that? Why would you, instead of doing that fight, go and fight someone in rank number 14 or 15 or something like that? If you've got this offer in front of you, go and do it. And it's entertainment. They're prize fighters, they're entertainers. There's no bigger entertainer than Tyson Fury, and it'll be a big event, and you'll watch it.
Well, I don't want to say... No, I'm going to be honest with you, Dev. I actually won't. I still haven't watched Fury Chisora 3 because I didn't think that was appropriate at that time. But we accepted it just because we was told Usyk was next.
I think everyone thought Usyk was next. Do you think he'd be in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium? Do you think he'd be up on the apron if we didn't all think it was next? It was meant to be next. Then the date moved, and then the date it moved from February to April, and then it was actually we can't do it this year, and so we're going to do it at the end of the year in Saudi. That's why all parties started exploring Wembley Stadium for April, and then it's on their mind you can make a lot more money to do it in Saudi, and then the fight doesn't happen. It is what it is, but all intentions were February for it to be Usyk. Why would we have Usyk even there if there was like intention to duck him or all these crazy things people say? There's the man himself.
With the last part of that, so I understand it from a marketing perspective, and I understand he's making the bag. That's a brilliant move for him. But that being said, the fact that you are still a champion, should that not really come with more responsibility, self-responsibility? Forget the mandatory, forget the sanctioning body, but they have rankings. You could fight someone within those rankings because we've been led to believe that Tyson Fury he's the megastar, he is the A-side, he is, the cash cow of the division. So you can then fight anyone and make money. So why not fight a boxer to keep yourself active for a boxer that you should be fighting moving forward?
You can fight anyone and make money, right? You said that. Tyson's a heavy A-side, you can fight anyone and make money. You make more money against Francis Ngannou. He's the third biggest fight out there for Tyson Fury. Go and get your money. That's all I'm saying. It's there for him, and it's a big event. And I know you say you're not going to watch it. You'll get, I think anyway, I think you'll be swept up in it. But mate, we'll see in fight week. I think.
You know what? You might be right, Dev. We will see. But you know what? I'm going to leave it there. I've taken up a lot of your time, but I appreciate you actually standing here and answering these questions. I'm not here trying to dig at anyone. I just want to get to the bottom of what a lot of people are thinking. So.
I'm not the promoter. I'm just Dev, all right? I'm just the company man out there, having fun, all right? But if you want real answers and all of that, try and interview Frank. But good chat.
Oh no, Frank's next on the list. But listen, Dev, thank you very much for your time and enjoy the rest of the day.